Today we're explaining an explanation of benefits from your health insurance company that shouldn't need explaining at all, where billed charges aren't a real bill and the numbers rarely tie to what you actually pay. Let's get into it. Now what you're looking at here is a redacted version of an actual EOB, or explanation of benefits, that I got from my health insurance company. This was mostly for some diagnostic testing, but they all kind of look like this. On the left-hand side, you'll see the service type, and I removed the date and the CPT code, but what will usually be there is a 5-digit number that corresponds to the services that you got. CPT codes are a procedure code. It's what the doctor's office or the hospital types in to bill your insurance. As the columns go, you'll see the billed amount on the left, and then the member rate, and then as you kind of move to the right, you'll start to finally figure out how much you're going to pay and how it applies to your benefit plan. An important thing to know about an explanation of benefits is that it's not a bill. It's coming from your insurance company, and the one that you have to pay is the provider, so the hospital, the doctor's office, and you have to wait for an actual bill to come from them. It's supposed to help. It's supposed to be transparent. It usually adds some confusion, but it is a nice piece of information to have when you're comparing it against an actual bill, but you have to know how to use it. And so if we focus in on the left side here, you'll see medical services and then CPT code. And again, that CPT code is a 5-digit number that corresponds to what was actually billed. You'll then see the billed amount and the member rate. I would recommend that you either Google or use an AI chat of your choice to look up the CPT codes and what they mean, because the CPT codes will help inform you on, one, what was billed for, and two, if it was actually what you were there for. And so do the best you can to try and understand it. A quick Google search can usually tell you what these things mean. Now let's look at the billed amount. You'll see kind of that first number, 5480, and then the member rate of 2217, and then the next line down, 137.95, and the member rate of 1315. And you'll notice that these numbers are drastically different. The billed amount is much higher in all cases than the member rate. And this is the first gotcha of an explanation of benefits. The amount billed is not actually a real number. Those numbers are inflated and not what an insurance company will ever pay, not what any person should ever pay. They are only there to either aid the contract. They literally mean nothing as it pertains to you as you're getting your care. The real number is the member rate. Sometimes you'll see that as the allowed cost or the allowed charge. That is the number that is contracted by your insurance company with the provider that you got services from. That is the actual number that gets paid at some point. So that's the number that gets divided up between the insurance company and you, the member. It's important to note every single explanation of benefits will have a billed amount, and every time the billed amount means nothing. There is no situation where that billed amount is a true real life number. In some cases, if there's no contract in place, your insurance company will pay a certain amount, and then you'll get balance billed the difference between the billed amount and the paid amount. Appeal. But again, these are the numbers that you usually see when people are saying, I got billed $3 million and insurance covered almost all of it, and I ended up needing to pay $500. Insurance didn't cover almost all of it. Insurance just negotiated a rate that was significantly lower. Nobody covered any of that money. These left two columns, amount billed, that means nothing. Member rate, that's the real number. Ignore billed charges. Hey, by the way, if you like content like this, I'd love if you'd like and subscribe. I'm trying to bring health insurance content to the masses so that people are more educated and know what they can do, because it's a confusing world out there, and I think we all want change. So again, I'd really love it if you do that. But let's get back to this. Now, if we look in kind of the middle section, you'll see how things apply to your plan. So you'll see applied to deductible, you'll see your copay, you'll see amount remaining. A lot of these services in this EOB are preventive. You'll see nothing applied to the deductible, no copay, and then amount remaining is that same member rate. Now, if you go down the lines a few times, you'll see that there's an $1186 applied to the deductible. That is an indication to me that I'm going to have to pay that, but there's nothing in copay. Me as the member, I would have to cover those copays if there was something there. If you go down a little further, you'll see $1185 also applied to deductible. I know that's something that I'm going to have to cover as well. If we focus in on the plan share, that's where the insurance company is actually paying something. So you'll see much smaller numbers here than the billed amounts that we talked about before, and this amount is actual money going out the door of your insurance company to the provider to cover, in this case, is tests, but any services that you received. And then if we shift all the way to the right, you'll see your share or my share. This is the amount that I have to cover. And so you'll see that $1186 from the deductible column. You'll see the $1185 from the deductible column, and it just gets summed up at the bottom. And that's how much I'm going to have to pay for this set of services in this table. Again, not a real bill. So this is really just an indicator of I should have to only pay $23.71 for these things when I get the bill from the provider. And if it's not that number, then I need to contact probably both the provider and the health insurance company to get it figured out. A really annoying thing to do, but you can't look at these and just assume they're true. These are wrong all the time. Now, there were a second set of services down at the bottom from a different part of this visit, a different test or diagnostic taken. This is kind of an example of what something might look like if it wasn't correct. I've labeled the section where you would see the CPT code as preventive. You can look up what the preventive codes are. All preventive care under the ACA is covered at 100% by the insurance company. And so what that means is anything that is a preventive CPT code should not cost me anything. And so it starts again with the billed amount, not a real number, gets into the member rate of $27.30 and $32.30. And then we move across the table to applied to deductible. And now I see that I'm going to have to pay some of this and that the plan is not covering anything here. It's all me. It's applied to the deductible and my share is $59.60. And so if these truly are preventive codes, it's at this point that I've identified an error that my health insurance company isn't covering this. I would need to double check that I actually get billed this amount from the provider. And if that's true, I'm going to go to my insurance company to say, I believe these codes are preventive. They need to be covered at 100%. Can you explain to me why they are not? And it's at that point where you just have to hope they don't lie to you. EOBs are always like this. They show this type of information. They give you an idea of how much a plan is covering, how much a plan is not covering, what your out-of-pocket cost should be, and then you have to wait for the bill from the provider to make sure that that was all correct. And a lot of times there's going to be some discrepancies, and it is in your best interest to make sure that you ask the questions and you appeal. One of the most important things to come out of this is billed charges are not real. When it says insurance company adjustment or covered by insurance and it reconciles to the billed amount, that's not true. Nobody ever paid that. Nobody ever did anything with that. Money didn't exchange hands to get to the allowed amount or the member rate. The member rate is the contracted rate. The allowed amount is the contracted rate. That's how much money is actually getting paid. Your insurance company and your insurance plan is not as good as your EOB maybe makes it seem that it is. And so if there's anything that we can do with these, it's review, ask questions, appeal, do the best we can to be educated consumers, and don't let them bully you around with confusing things. Ask the question, Google, use AI, do whatever you have to do, reach out to Reddit, reach out here. You have the power to get your money back or get things changed. There are errors in these all the time. Don't take for granted that they're going to be right. So let me know if you've experienced a weird EOB before, or maybe your bill came in and it didn't connect to your EOB. I'd love to hear some stories about weird EOBs that people have gotten and how it got resolved. Drop a comment about any weird experience that you've had with your insurance company. I'd love to hear it. Please like and subscribe. And with that, I'll see you next time.